Let's bring in CBS News legal contributor Rebecca Roiphe. So, Rebecca, today on the stand, we heard from David Pecker, who is the former publisher of the National Enquirer. Remind us again, why is he important to this case?
David Pecker is important because he was part of what's called the catch and kill scheme. So he was involved initially in decisions to buy certain stories from individuals, not to publish those, but rather to keep them quiet. And so this was part of what was going on before he decided that he wasn't going to do this. And then Cohen stepped in with his plan along with the former president, at least that's the allegation. And that's where they decided to falsify these business records in order to accomplish the same thing.
And Rebecca, one thing that we have heard is the prosecution called the hush money payments part of a criminal scheme to corrupt the 2016 election. This is something that the judge has also underlined there. Talk to us about why is this phrasing important, not just for prosecutors, but for the Americans who are watching this and seeing the candidate who is running for president again in November.
So, one of the important things to emphasize here is that this is about the falsifying of the business records. And so we heard the former president in that clip you showed say this is not a state case. They're trying to piggyback on federal laws. That's just not true. It's illegal here in New York to falsify your business records when you are doing so to commit or conceal a crime. New York has a real interest in the integrity of its business and being the financial capital of the world. And so the crime that the former president is accused of intending to commit by falsifying those records is, among others, that the election fraud. And so the idea is that he did this with the intent to interfere with the 2016 election, to keep information that would be relevant to voters away from those voters. That is what he is accused, not what he's accused of doing, but his accused purpose for falsifying those business
And
records.
just to follow up on that, Rebecca, I'm curious about what is it that the prosecution needs to show to drive this point home? And do you see them doing it with the testimony from the witnesses that we've seen may or may not show up?
Absolutely. So in part, they have to show the false business records, and that is largely going to be established through a paper trail. And this is extremely important because one of the key witnesses here is Michael Cohen. And as we know, Michael Cohen has a substantial amount of baggage. In order to convince a jury that that kind of witness is telling the truth, the prosecutors are going to have to corroborate a significant amount of what he says. And my guess is they're going to do so in part through the testimony of others, but mostly through these documents. So I imagine that a lot of the case is going to be built through the use of bank records, texts, tweets, and corporate records, things that show that there was in fact this false trail, and then the witnesses will be used to establish what the former president intended by that false trail.